Hello, welcome back to another episode of A Little Atypical. My name is Elijah, you can call me Lay, and it is 10:32 p.m. on the clock on a Wednesday. This is not my ideal recorded time, because honestly I prefer waking up on a Sunday, 4 a.m., just to record, because one, it's like the entire world is off. Right now, I can kind of feel the vibration of something. It kind of feels like the people upstairs are working out on a machine or something, and the vibration is just like coming down. So I'm so sorry if you can hear anything of the sorts in the background, but as they say, this was kind of my own doing, and the show must go on. Let's do the segment of what I am grateful for. So, what I am grateful for this week is my current emotional state. And I came up with this one because I'm reading a book called Good Vibes, Good Life by Vex King. And in one chapter, it kind of talks about checking in on your emotional state. I don't know, I just got really inspired by that chapter because I feel like sometimes when we talk about gratitude, we kind of usually reduce it to like an object or something physical. But I think we should be thankful for when we are in a better emotional state. I remember like talking to someone and they simply just asked me like how I felt. And I couldn't give them a direct answer. Like, I don't know what I'm necessarily feeling, but I don't feel numb. But I feel like this emotion is kind of like uncharted territory. Like, I know what sadness feels like, I know what depression feels like, and everything like that. I feel like I can't necessarily remember the last time I felt happy, and sometimes I think I forget what that feels like. So like the feeling I'm feeling, it's not a bad feeling, it's actually far from it. Is it happiness? I don't know. I literally walked up to my mom and was like, "Ma, what do you think it means to be actually happy?" Because in the book too, they say like envision like what a person who is happy looks like, and what are the things they say, like what are the things they talk about, and I just couldn't necessarily picture it. It's either I was stuck in such a negative place for such a long time that sometimes I can't picture specifically happiness, but I don't feel terrible either. So then I was telling my mom, like, I don't feel negative, I don't feel bad, I don't have any bad emotions right now. Like, but I don't know if I feel happy. And she's like, maybe you just feel content. Maybe that's the word I am. Maybe I'm at peace. But simply, I feel calm. And I'm very grateful that I'm in such a state where I don't feel negative, and I know that much. So, the card pull of this episode, when I was scripting out my notes and everything like that, I used the Sacred Self-Care deck by Jill Pyle, and the card I pulled was 43, which is rest. I found this to be such divine timing because when I was scripting out this episode, it was Monday, July 17th, and if you're a little bit of an astrology girly, you know that July 17th, everyone was talking about the new moon in Cancer and how it's a time to get like in tune with your emotions, but it's also a sign that is very nurturing, so it reminds you of self-care and everything like that. To pull this from the deck and to have a card remind you that in our fast-paced world, it is easy to get caught up with the busyness of every day, and to constantly feel pressured from being on the go and to keep up with our to-do list and to just be productive all the time, and how the constant activity can take toll on our mental health. This card is to remind us that rest is just as important and relaxation in order to recharge. So it encourages us to take a break from our lives. It encourages us to slow down and to be mindful and simply taking the time to engage in self-care activities to help us feel relaxed. And I felt like that was extremely fitting. So my good experience of the week was when I got my package. I got the Natrium package, which if you've seen them on TikTok, they're like this body care brand. And honestly, I'm so excited to try that, because I feel like for the longest time I've been such a Bath and Body Works girl, even though I know it's not like the best thing for your skin. There's just something so nostalgic about Bath and Body Works body gel. But I've been trying to like get more into a shower routine, have products that have ingredients that are good for my skin. So I'm so excited to try that. So when I got the package, I've literally only used it twice, but I feel like the order I do things now has been so much more hygienic, and it's just like one of those girly things, you know? I don't know if you've been on like TikTok and you see like those accounts just dedicated to like having a shower routine and stuff like that, and like moisturizing and scents and stuff like that. I love those type of things as someone who's like was a beauty major in college, but I still feel like even though I was in the major itself where I learn about how to make those products, that I'm still kind of developing my own, if that makes sense, like routine wise. This is kind of like going into my learning experience of the week. Is honestly, this week I felt very off and I felt so hard off of my routine. And then I was reading my human design chart, and human design is just basically kind of like another tool that tells you about yourself. I feel like I want to do an episode dedicated to like all these different types of like tools that you can use to learn more about yourself, because I think people's biggest misconception with things like astrology and numerology and all the other things, human design, they say like they take it as people following like a religious practice. But honestly, at least in my eyes, I take it more as like it's a tool, and it kind of leans sometimes more into like science, because with astrology it's about like degrees and angles and stuff like that. Like there's way more to it than just like sun signs. But human design to me is a lot more complicated, so I'm still learning about that. But one thing I did learn was about like the arrows, which is called, I think, the 4 variations. One arrow basically means like how you like function with, like, is it better for you to function with a routine or without a routine? And for me, that arrow was pointing to the right, which meant I'm supposed to be a little more go with the flow and have a little less structure. But like my environment is like the complete opposite, where it's like I need to be in a consistent environment, which makes so much sense because I'm such a homebody. But the routine one, I've been trying so hard to start building a routine and rituals. That sounded so dramatic. I've been trying so hard to build a routine, especially because I talked about this last episode that my word of the year is consistency. And it's kind of like, how am I supposed to level up my life if I can't be consistent? So I've been trying all this year to really show up for myself. So I'm kind of just wondering if it's possible to be consistent and consistently work on my goals without necessarily following a routine, because I have a tendency to get bored with them and fall off with them. So now I'm putting that into theory, and I always fall off my routine for various reasons. Like, sometimes it's simply my energy level and I don't feel up to doing things. And other times, like, it's more of like a hormonal issue where, depending on like my phase, I feel, usually the week before, I feel horrible. Like, that's when I feel sluggish, because I felt sluggish this upcoming week. But when my period happened, sorry to be TMI, but when my period happened, like, I still feel pain, but I think I felt more fatigue last week. I've noticed like more people with periods starting to do like cycle syncing and using that to create a routine. And I don't know if that would work for me. I've gotten better at tracking mine, but I haven't necessarily tried cycle syncing, but I researched a lot about it because I find it like interesting. Maybe I'll do a whole deep dive on that. But today's episode is what is in and what is out for July 2023. And I thought this was a cute idea because it kind of reminded me of a TikTok trend, even though this has been like out for a long time. And it always was a way for people to talk about their thoughts on like food, entertainment, media, and share what they like and share what they dislike. So I want to get started on the episode. I'm probably going to do like 4 of each and keep them as brief as possible, of things I've been liking, and this is all my personal opinion. So it's not necessarily like law, it's just things that I've been loving, I've been noticing, or what I think about certain things, or things that have been in topic and what I feel about them. If you hate some of the things that I find in, is 100% understandable. I also want to probably make this like a monthly thing. Trigger warning, because one of the first things I mention is kind of controversial, which is what's in for me is girl dinners. To be specific, is I like the original video that was kind of like how girl dinners have like variety in terms of like the different things, like if it's like sweet and savory, and how it has like sometimes fruits, and basically it's like a charcuterie board but like an adult lunchable version. I wanted to talk about that first. So since food is like sometimes a hard topic for people, I just wanted to give a trigger warning. Like I mentioned, what I liked about it was the sense of having variety, and it started as a trend that was harmless. What happens is sometimes things that start as innocent turns very dark very fast, especially in this state of the internet. So some people hate girl dinners because they feel like it's promoting ED, and they feel like it started off as like what I listed, but then you saw like other videos of girls like just having ice cream, or like them just having like this one small thing, or sometimes it's just something just very unhealthy for them. Obviously it's concerning. So I looked up like articles on it, if I'm being honest. So one article, they had like a quote, it was pretty interesting, so I'm just gonna read it. You don't know what the rest of their day has looked like and what else they've eaten. Maybe they had a huge lunch and they don't need something, but they want to eat something before bed. So they're just going to pick a bit and eat a little something, a little grazing meal, charcuterie without the board or whatever, or maybe they don't need as much food that day. We just don't know what's going on in people's lives. I think that food is such a beautiful thing and should be celebrated, and the fact that women and people all over the place are coming together around girl dinner and finding excitement and the joy of eating is so special. So that's one of the quotes I found, and she raises a good point that girl dinner just highlights dinner, like what they're eating at the end of the day. And for me personally, I wake up, like I said, like pretty early. Like I wake up 4:30, and a lot of times what my current routine has been is I wake up 4:30, right? And usually in between that time, I'm either like making the bed, brushing my teeth, whatever. That's usually like my 4:30 to 5. And then around 5, that's when I usually eat a fruit and yogurt. If we have banana, I eat a banana and then I have yogurt. If it's a plum, I eat the plum and then I have yogurt. Or sometimes if I don't have yogurt, I have a protein shake, right? And that's essentially like my pre-workout because I have something small. Because I don't know how some people do it. Like they can work out on an empty stomach, but it makes me feel dizzy. So I'm not going to do that. So when people talk about EDs with this trend, like there was a point in my life where I would literally get 3 hours of sleep, head to school, don't eat anything. This is kind of hard for me to talk about, but in high school, I used to get 3 hours of sleep. I would then go to school. I didn't eat breakfast because school gave me such anxiety. I felt like if I had anything, I would just throw up in the morning. Because starting 6th grade, that's what happened. Like, I would be so stressed out about going to school. I would throw up in the morning out of stress. And even if I didn't eat anything, I would just feel sick and nauseous as a part of my anxiety about going to school. So in high school, I ended up just not eating. And then at lunch, I would feel nervous about eating in front of people because then I got bullied for my weight. And when you're bullied for your weight, like, it was very hard for me. I would maybe, like, have a bag of chips or something from the GO store because we had basically, like, a store where if you didn't buy lunch, people just got pretty much junk food. Like, there was barely any actual healthy snacks because we used to have vending machines in the school, but the hurricane messed that up literally our first year there in middle school, and they just didn't put it back since, and then had the GO store. So I would sometimes get stuff from that, sometimes share snacks with my friends, but other than that, I didn't really eat at school as often because eating at school stressed me out a lot. And I would sometimes hang out after school with my friends, but that was really towards like my older years because I started hanging out with people maybe 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th. So then a lot of times we would like go after school, either go to Dunkin' or get Chinese food. Then when we got to our later grades, we would go all the way to Starbucks. What I'm saying is sometimes like having any meal is better than not eating because I've had a phase in my life of not eating. And with girl dinner, I think what misses from the conversation is the fact like some of us have small families. Like I live in a 2-person home where we have different likes and we tend to cook our own meals. And sometimes like when it doesn't make sense making a whole meal just for you to eat it, and then it would have how many days of leftovers and then get sick of the leftovers and then waste the food. And sometimes I get sick of food fast. So with girl dinner, I feel like it kind of saves me from that waste, you know? And also in the summer, sometimes it's just too hot to cook. And sometimes I just want to make something easy, like a sandwich, and then have like just easy nachos and guac and a smoothie, like whatever I want, and have it be a mixture of different things. And that's good for me. I also think girl dinner misses the part of the conversation. Like, sometimes if you see someone eating that little, that it really could be like food insecurity. And I think that is one thing missing from the conversation. And I really could go on about this, but honestly, my laptop is dying, my iPad is dying, and I'm trying to do this in one shot. So, next thing, what I think is out is limiting beliefs on fitness. What I think that pushes people away from fitness in general is people glorifying a specific way we do it. For me personally, I have a strong belief in movement. I feel like I went off about this in like 2 episodes ago, that I think people should just promote people moving their bodies in whatever way that keeps them doing it. I'm not a gym girly. I wish I was, but I'm just not. I don't have the money to pay for a gym right now. Honestly, even if I did, I don't know if I would actually show up and go to a gym, because even me spending money on a membership monthly or yearly or whatever, I don't think that motivates me enough to just go. For me, like, home workouts are better. When I like see that I have different options, I'm more likely to do it. I wasn't consistent this week, but the previous weeks I've been consistently using my stepper. And if I wasn't consistently using my stepper, I would make it a point to do some sort of workout in the afternoon, but it got way too hot. And if I don't feel like doing a dance workout, there's also like using my trampoline. There's going outside and jump roping. There's hula hooping. There's just different ways I can do movement. I can go for a walk. I can use my kettlebell set. I can use my dumbbell set. I can use my bands. I can try Pilates. I can try different forms of movement. And I feel like when we talk about fitness, people always promote the gym, but some people, they won't want to go to the gym. Some people are meant to do things like classes or be on sports teams or something as an adult, or they're meant to do something that requires training with one-on-one. And I feel like we need to stop putting like these limiting beliefs on like what it means to be a fit person, because I think people who don't go to the gym are still fit people as long as they are making time to move their bodies and do it consistently and do it in a way that makes them happy. Next thing I say has been really in for me is reading as entertainment. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, I am currently reading Good Vibes, Good Life by Vex King. It is my 16th book, and yes, right now it's inspirational content, but I also really love romance books, which I know a lot of people talk very badly about, but I think there's so much value in romance books too, where I feel like in books it can teach us about like our love languages and boundaries. So, for example, I remember seeing a video and the girls like talking about how men on social media were bashing romance readers, right? And she was saying how they think of it as like, oh, all women want is a rich man. And she's just like, no, it's not about like, oh, if a girl wants a Lamborghini, he buys her the Lamborghini. No, it's not about that. It's more about like him paying attention to what she likes, like the principle of it. And I think that's what I love, because even my favorite scenes in romance books, they have nothing to do with how much money they spent on her. Let me tell you, one of my favorite books, one of my favorite things that they did was they made a meat. After spending so much time under eating, they made a meal plan for her. Another book, after Miss Girl had a panic attack, he literally carries her to his apartment to make sure she's safe and helps bathe her in a completely non-sexual way. And for me, that meant so much. Or when he screws up and for all the days that they're apart, he writes her letters every single day, talking more about himself, his life, and because there was such a difference of what he knew about her and what she knew about him. So for her to learn more about him, he made a collection of letters to give to her. My top love language still is acts of service, but for the longest time after that, it was words of affirmation. So my heart just went screaming. Like, you don't understand. I was like, oh my god, I was like so geeked over it. Like, I don't know. Like, you could probably hear my voice. Like, I'm smiling. I'm cheesing. Because that was so cute. I can talk about this forever, but anyways. Of course, some romance books have like very toxic ideas of love, but I feel like people also need to understand that a lot of people can tell the difference of what's romantic and sweet versus what should be left just in fiction and left for the plot but is a red flag in real life. It's kind of like the same argument when someone says like, oh, people playing video games makes them more violent. Like, if you grew up with morals, a person knows right from wrong. And I just feel like people need to understand, like, people know what is a bad thing to do, what is a red flag, and what is inhumane. Reading as entertainment has just been such a vibe. And I feel like, especially we don't know how entertainment is going to be soon with things happening with the writing strike and actor strike. So we don't know what entertainment is going to look like right now. But what's out is essentially negative self-talk. Even though I don't hate on myself. Like, I feel like I used to be my biggest hater. Like, public enemy number one. So, negative self-talk is just out. And even at times of weakness where I don't like something about myself, or there's something I'm not particularly happy with, it's not me hating on myself. And if I catch myself hating on myself, I correct myself. If I catch my mom hating on herself, I correct her real quick and hype her up. And I would do that for anyone in my life. Okay, so next thing I say that's in is declutter and cleanse. So obviously this is environmental wellness. It is my current favorite form of wellness, and I've been working on it little by little. I'm not gonna lie to you, my room is still very far from what I want it to be or need it to be, but I feel like the intent is there, and I have things like what I know what I need to do, because I was so motivated in the sense, like, I got rid of my desk and I replaced it with a bookcase. I feel like I would get back into it, but I just need the weather to not be so hot. I have an AC, but I can't run it all times a day. I just need the weather to cool down a bit for me to really go all in on my environmental cleaning wellness. Next thing that's out is making changes for revenge. This is more of a mindset thing, because when I was making this list, I was like trying to figure out like what things that I used to do or how I used to think that is just so not me anymore. Because some people say like success is the best revenge. But honestly, I stopped wanting to be successful for anyone else besides myself and the people I love and care about. Because I feel like, yeah, at one point I did make such changes out of me being angry and me wanting to be petty. But at the same time, those changes did not stick. Since it didn't stick once, I feel like it's not gonna continue to work. And if I held on to like those negative emotions, would I really be successful? So moving on, my last what's in is My Hero Academia, which is very niche, but I love anime. I am 100% like, typically I would consider myself a little more like a shoujo watcher, because my favorite animes, I'm trying to think what was like my first, because okay, usually everyone says it's Host Club. I don't think my first one was necessarily Host Club. I've been really into this one because before watching this, I was like so deep into Spy Family. So this one, I feel like it's very interesting because, okay, I'm already like 5 seasons deep and I really just started like a couple days ago. What I think I like about it is how it highlights like good and evil and kind of like how the message within it, because they kind of like show how dangerous ideologies could be, and also how necessarily not every good person is necessarily always good. And I also think it kind of highlights how like a good person or someone who's supposed to be a good person can literally do something that can change the trajectory of things, you know? And it's like, for example, heroes. I kind of think of them as like celebrities in a sense of how they describe it in their world with the quirks and everything. But like a lot of the heroes, they did not do good by their families. Like not all of them, but a lot of them. How you kind of spread yourself and how it affects your family, and how like even if you're good and you protect all these people, it shows how if you're for so many people, how easy it is to neglect the people that's supposed to be your loved ones and close ones, because you're more focused on the masses and you think you're acting as the greater good. And I feel like a lot of people throughout the show started to resent heroes because of it, because of the neglect and how they're for everyone else. And it's just like interesting to me. I don't know how else to explain it. Even though right now I'm kind of getting bored with certain episodes because it was so like villain focused. And honestly, I'm kind of missing like UA. I'm kind of missing the like competitive, like growing into their powers and seeing them compete. Like I'm kind of missing that aspect. The last thing that's out, this was kind of like something I just wanted to throw in, but toxic productivity. Because essentially, this kind of connects to what I was saying before with the rest card, and how sometimes we're just pretty much go, 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 and we beat ourselves up for it when we're not going, when we're not like moving around. And also, it can make us feel bad, it can make us feel lazy. But I don't think everything we have to do necessarily has to be productive. And I also feel like we have a narrow definition of what productivity actually is, because I feel like what people call productive is serving society, quote unquote, right? But there's so many meaningful work a person could do and it does make society a better place. Like, if a person is nurturing their needs, they are nicer in return to other people, which makes for a better society. We kind of just toss aside things that don't make money and we deem them as less meaningful. But I feel like even a person pursuing their hobbies is very meaningful. We need to stop micromanaging people on what is productive and what isn't productive, because it's not fair that what one person's doing is considered productive, but if another person is doing something that makes them feel joy or is their passion and they just don't make money from it, why is that unproductive? So we're just going to end it off with a journal prompt / action or task of the week. Reflect on your own personal ins and outs for the month of July. What trends or habits are you looking to adopt or let go? Why are these changes important to you? This is my own list of ins and outs, which is very personal to me, and things that I thought that I really want more of, and things that made my life feel more full. So when you look at your ins and outs, make sure to do that. And you know what? Why not? Let's just throw in an activity / challenge of the week. So try a new hobby or activity that is outside of your comfort zone. It could be something creative like painting or writing, or something more physical like rock climbing or hiking. So technically I gave you 2 tasks this week, and even though this is not my typical episode and not my typical time, I do hope I can kind of get into a pattern of recording, because my life is about to be a little bit hectic, but I still want to show how important creation is to me. So we'll figure something out. If you like this content, like, share, leave a comment, anything, to wherever you're watching, listening. I hope you have a good day, evening, or night.